Hey guys, today I'm going to be reading for you the second lesson in the Unique Learning Systems curriculum for the month of May. We are still talking about restaurant skills, which I know is an exciting topic for a lot of you because we love to eat in this class. So this article is titled Dinner is Served. So we look at this first picture. What kind of restaurant do you think we're going to be talking about today? So this is typically what we call a sit-down restaurant. And I know a lot of you have gone to a place like this before. This particular one in the story is a bit more fancy than maybe some of us are used to going to. So let's flip the page and we're going to learn about some of the words we will talk about and some things we'll learn from the story. So our words to learn. First one says host. So a host is a person who greets customers at a restaurant. So they're that person when you walk into a restaurant, a lot of times that will say something like, how many people in your party today? Or, oh, will that be 2 people? It's going to be about a 5-minute wait. So typically the first person that greets you right when you walk in, and they're the one that will seat you to a table. The next word we're going to talk about is party. Party is a number of people that will be eating together. So if you have 4 people in your family and you all go out to eat, you're going to have 4 people in your party. The next word is server. That's a person who takes orders and serves food in a restaurant. So this is the person that comes up to you and is like, explains the menu and asks you, what you may want to drink or what you may want to eat. We're also going to talk about the word leftovers, and that's the food that is not eaten and can be saved for another time. So, if you don't eat all your food, they can always box it up, or they'll bring you a box for you to put your food in. The next word we're going to talk about is check. This is the bill for your food. So remember, when you go out to a restaurant, it's not free. You have to have the money to be able to pay for whatever it is that you ordered. Here are the things that we're going to learn from this story. Fast food and fancy restaurants are different. They are very different. It is important to make healthy choices. Remember we talked about you only get one body, right? If I'm mean and bad to this one, I can't trade it in for a different body, right? This is my only body I get. If you do not finish your meal at a sit-down restaurant, you can take the leftovers home. So that's what we talked about, your leftovers. You can ask for a box, and they'll usually box it up for you or hand you the box for you to put your food into it, and then you can take that home. So this is page 1. Isella's grandparents are taking her to dinner. They are not going to a fast food restaurant. They are going to a fancy restaurant. So up here is her grandparents, and then here's Isella, and it looks like they're thinking about what restaurant they want to go to. Let's move on to page 2. Ooh, this says up here, please wait to be seated. When you see a sign like that, that doesn't mean, oh, there's an empty table over there, I'm going to go sit down. No, it says, please wait to be seated, and whoever the host will be the person that shows you to your table and shows you where you're supposed to sit. You might also encounter signs that say, please seat yourself. And then that's when you just find any open table and you can sit down. But if it says, please wait to be seated, that really does mean, please wait. A sign says to wait to be seated. Estella and her grandparents wait. A host will take them to their table. Let's move on to page 3. Estella tells the host there are 3 people. There's 3. Remember, there's her grandma, her grandpa, and her. That makes 3. That's their party number. So they make sure that there's 3 chairs and 3 menus and 3 of everything at the table that they're going to eat at. So the host gets 3 menus and the host takes them to their table. Let's move on to page 4. So Estella looks at the menu. She picks a meal that looks good. Estella tells the server her order. So again, most places have a physical menu to look at. Some places will have a QR code, which you would have to scan with your phone for your menu, especially now. During the pandemic, a lot of places are moving away from having a physical menu. But either way, they should probably have a few copies if you ask for one. So you have to look through the menu and pick out what looks good and possibly what you can afford, right? If this restaurant has $20 meals and you only have $15 on you, you're not going to be able to eat there. Or you might have to just get an appetizer, something cheaper. Let's move on to page 5. The server brings Estella her meal. She thanks her. Estella talks to her grandparents. Estella uses good manners. So nice job, Estella, using your good manners. You really should use those everywhere you go, not just a fancy restaurant, but especially at a restaurant. Let's move on to page 6. Estella eats until she is full. There's food left on her plate. The server brings a box for her leftovers. So sometimes they're made out of like cardboard. Sometimes, most of the time, I think I go to eat, they give you like a styrofoam container that you can put your items in to take home. I know a lot of us here struggle with, they might have a big serving of food, and some of us might think we have to eat all of the food on our plate, but that's not necessarily true. If you're full, stop eating. It's better for you. It doesn't make you sick. Just stop eating when you're full. And at a restaurant, they can give you a takeout box for you to take home. Let's move on to page 7. The server brings the check. The check is the bill for their food. So fast food and fancy restaurants are different. So usually at a fast food restaurant, you pay for your food before you ever receive the food. At a sit down or a fancier restaurant, you're going to eat your food first, and then they're going to bring you the bill. So that's kind of a big difference. Again, when you're ordering your food, you have to think about how much money you have and, only order an amount of food or an item that you can afford, right? Again, if you get that bill and you can't afford it, they're not going to be like, oh, that's fine, you can just eat the food for free. They're not going to do that. So you need to plan out how much money you have. So here are some tips about this story. So look for a sign saying whether you should wait to be seated or seat yourself. Like I said, it should say, please wait to be seated or please seat yourself. Use your best manners when eating out. I think you should use your best manners all the time, but especially at a sit-down restaurant or really anywhere out in the public. You should speak clearly and slowly when ordering a meal at a restaurant. So again, just like with the fast food restaurant, if they don't understand you, just like if we don't understand you here in class, just repeat yourself It's okay. People want to understand what you're saying. You might have to say it slower. You might have to describe it or just point to it and show them in the menu. And lastly, if you do not know how to read or say something on the menu, it's okay to point or ask for help. Like I said, this is their job to help you at the restaurant. They want to know what you want to eat. So don't be embarrassed to ask for help. So here are the words that are from this story. If you'd like to pause here, you can to go over these words with your student or talk about them. If not, we're going to go over the quiz, the comprehension quiz that goes along with this story. So if you'll get that out now, that's what we're going to do next. Here's question number 1. What is this story about? Is it about a fancy restaurant, work, or a library? Circle the answer you think is correct. It is about a fancy restaurant.
Fancy restaurant.
Option 1. Let's move on to question 2. Who takes them to their table? A teacher, a boss, or a host? Circle the answer you think is correct. A host.
Host.
Option 3. Let's go to question 3. What kind of manners does Acela use? Does she use bad manners, good manners, or tired manners? Circle the answer you think is correct. She uses good manners.
Good.
Option 2. Question 4. What is the check? Is it a bill, a menu, or a book? Circle the answer you think is correct. It's a bill.
Bill.
Option 1. Last question, question 5. What is important to know about this story? You get paid to eat at nice restaurants. You can wear sweatpants everywhere. Or fast food and fancy restaurants are different. Circle the answers you think are correct. Fancy food and fancy restaurants are different. Option 3.
Fast food and fancy restaurants are different.
So I hope you learned a little bit today about what it's like to eat in a sit-down restaurant or a fancier restaurant. I'm pretty sure that most of you have eaten before in a sit-down restaurant, so you know probably a little bit about what it's like. But it's always good to kind of refresh on those skills. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will see you next time.